All right. So, would you rather owe an apology or wait for an apology that you think you're never going to get?
Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and say an apology, because I think that I've spent some time waiting on that apology I'm never gonna get, and I think it takes longer to work through that than it does if I owe an apology and just can take care of it myself.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's an interesting take. This week on our podcast, we're going to be exploring both sides of that.
Yes. So whether you need to give one or you're waiting to receive one, we're going to take a look at both of those.
Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome to Adulthood is a Project, the show where two sisters discuss the lessons learned and growth earned through the realities of life. I'm Charlie, and you all know my sister Casey, and we are your hosts.
In today's episode, we will discuss forgiveness. We're going to discuss the ins and outs of forgiving others and apologizing when we need to. Let's get started.
Okay. Here we go. Forgiveness. This is going to be I think this might be an interesting episode.
Oh,
for sure.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah. And it is quiz time.
Quiz time.
Hey, yo. I literally just got done keeping our score, and I left the paper clear across the room. I know, audience. Okay, so I did not do very good last week. So I'd say right now we are tied because we have both had a 4 out of 5. We've had 2 4 out of 5s, and then I had a 1 out of 5.
You've had 2 4 out of 5s. I've had 1 4 out of 5.
And a 1 out of 5.
I've had a 1 out of 5 and a 4 out of 5. So we'll see what happens now. We'll see if we're tied up.
We'll see what today can bring. So, are you ready?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I definitely tried on these to make them, because I felt like last time was my turn to ask questions. I don't think I gave you very good ones, so I tried to do better this time.
I hope you did.
Okay. I know. I'll try to throw you a curveball, or not a curveball, an easy hitter. I don't know. I messed that whole word up. It's fine.
Lob it in.
I'll throw one. You can lob it in. You can knock it out the park. Okay. In the Disney movie Frozen, which character chooses to forgive her sister despite being hurt, showing love without receiving a direct apology?
Anna?
Yeah? You did, yeah. Anna forgives Elsa.
Okay.
Honestly, never watched the movie, but I had a feeling you might have, so.
Well, I've watched it. The granddaughter was obsessed with it.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Okay, now, this one, I even think I could have gotten this, but I don't know. We'll see. In Christianity, who famously said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do"?
Jesus?
Okay, you're 2 for 2. You're 2 for 2. See, I got some good ones here for you. Okay, which psychological concept refers to the process of overcoming negative feelings like resentment or vengeance towards someone who has wronged you?
Forgiveness?
3 for 3.
I almost thought that was going to be too easy. I'm like, is that the right answer? Because it seems too easy.
Which is funny because I always like that seems like it's way too easy, but I'm like, this was a little tougher to come up with quiz questions for, to be honest with you. So
Okay.
it is, I had to, yeah. So I lobbed it at you. Okay, I got another Bible one for you. Okay,
Oh,
all right. In the Bible, which Old Testament figure forgave his brother for selling him into slavery, even though they never directly asked for forgiveness?
the coat. Oh, damn it. He had the coat. He had like a special coat,
The minute you said coat,
like the coat of colors. And
yeah.
I can't remember if it's. Gosh dang it. Oh, I should know this. It's a J name.
Okay. Yeah.
Joseph?
Yeah, dude. Nice. Nice. Good job. Good job. Okay, you're four. You're four so far. 4 for 4. Are
There we
you
go.
going to be the first one of us to get a 5 for 5?
I think so. I think so.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, let's see.
Keep
Which
lobbing it at me.
we'll see what happens. Okay. Which American civil rights leader, after surviving multiple imprisonments and threats, preached love and forgiveness towards his enemies, famously saying, "Forgiveness is not an occasional act, it is a constant attitude"?
I'm feeling 50-50 on this, but I'm going to go with Martin Luther King Jr.
Dude, yes, you did. You just got 5 for 5.
Yeah,
Dang,
nailed it.
you did nail it, man. I'll mark that. I'm gonna write it down here on this other paper that I'll try to remember to
The,
update the other paper.
the other paper.
I conveniently don't have the scorecard on me today.
I'll forgive you.
Thanks, sister.
Man,
Oh man, that's funny. Great job, man. Way to go. Way to
thanks,
knock it
thanks.
out the park. Yeah. Forgiveness. Man, that is I was, been kind of excited to talk a little bit about this episode and just see where it goes because I think it's just such a concept, right? Learning that forgiveness is more about yourself than it has anything to do with the person that you might be forgiving.
Oh, man, absolutely. And I would say that's a lesson I learned really early on about forgiveness was that it had zero to do with the person I was forgiving. And it had zero to do if they ever offered me an apology or not. That it was something I just had to get right in my own head and know if I was ready to move past it or not. So
I think that's awesome. You learned that early on.
being married to a drug addict will do that to you.
I don't know. It didn't do it to me. Like, I think there are still times, to even today that I'm like, I didn't get an apology from them, and I have to remind myself that it doesn't matter. Like, there's probably people I'm never gonna get that apology from,
Oh yeah.
and I think it's something I still have to work on a lot. Maybe is a good way to put that is doing the forgiveness without the apology. But honestly, sometimes even with an apology, it doesn't seem sincere anyway, and you're just like, I don't care that you apologize. I'm glad you realized how shitty you were to me. I still don't want to forgive you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think for me, it was more about learning that the forgiveness just really is what would lighten me up. It's all about internally how I feel.
And what I would say to that is I think it's so interesting because for me, I would rather, now it definitely depends on the situation, but I would rather not even hear your apology.
Oh, really?
Oh, an apology will piss me off.
To hear an
Yeah.
apology?
Yeah. And I think it just, for me, it comes down to the fact that I don't believe you. And until I see different actions from you, you can say whatever bullshit you want to
Oh,
say. I just don't care. I would prefer if you just
okay.
leave me alone. Don't talk to me. Show me you're sorry. That's fine. And again, it would really depend on like the situation, right? So like let's go back to I brought up the drug addict, right? So I think we
Right.
both are aware that within the 12 steps they have to ask for forgiveness, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh wee. Um the amount of times I've heard an apology for behavior that I knew was just going to come again.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I mean,
Then
I
that's
can't.
when you'd get pissed off.
Right. I mean, if you've ever had to be the lovely pleasure of sitting through family day at rehab, you know what I'm talking about. You know that you're sitting there and they're
I
asking for forgiveness and they're sitting there and they're talking about all the things they did wrong and blah 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 blah. Great, man. That's awesome. Does any of this mean anything to you, or are you just saying what you need to say to get through rehab?
so I've never had to deal with that side of it.
Oh, I've
I
I've
didn't
been
get those
there.
apologies.
I'm like I've been there one too many times.
So I would completely agree with you on like the changed behavior is going to make a bigger difference to me than the actual apology. I like the apology though when it's sincere because and this sounds so silly, but it makes me feel validated in the fact that I was so frustrated in the first place.
Hmm.
So it's almost like when that apology is a sincere, like, holy cow, like I really realize I messed up here. I am really sorry. This, and that. Like, I guess it makes me feel validated. It makes me feel more understood.
Okay.
And so I can appreciate that apology. Of course, again, like you said, if it came with a changed behavior, now that's for obviously like bigger things.
Right. Right. I was gonna say, I mean, and I think that's where I'm at with like just like the bigger things, and I don't need you to tell me you're sorry. I need you to show me with your actions and not do that again.
Fair.
I don't know. I feel like I just don't trust people's words. Um, I think people tend to say things that they know that you want to hear.
Okay.
And then I feel like it's apologizing for themselves.
That they're apologizing because they're just trying to make you happy, you mean?
I think they're saying they're sorry to get some kind of guilt off of their conscience, but without
Oh, got
actually
you.
changing behavior.
Yeah, I don't like that. I guess it really just depends on some of the stuff because some of it is for me. I want to hear the apology because I want to understand that that person understands what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, but I see where you're at because I'm like some of that stuff they might be apologizing for might be more of who they are as a person.
Yeah.
And I mean, even my, excuse me, even myself, I've noticed I've before been like, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Okay.
Whereas like,
Yeah.
I don't want to apologize for what I said, but I know that person wants an apology. but I don't actually feel bad about what I said.
Yeah.
So I've given that apology of, I'm sorry you feel that way. Because I am. Like, I genuinely am sorry that you feel that way, but I also think you're stupid and I don't feel bad for what I said. Kind of thing.
Right. Right. And what's funny is I would tell you, like, listen, I'm a very forgiving person. I'll forgive somebody almost immediately, whether without an apology. The minute I feel wronged, I will stop because I don't want to be in that negative space. And I'll be like, okay, you got to let this go. You can't hold this. So I'm a very forgiving person. But
So you're already doing that, like you said, that for yourself. It has nothing to do with whether a person actually does apologize or changes their behavior.
Right. Right.
Okay.
And I will. I mean, I'll always forgive for myself, whatever. I'm good. But don't think I'm not going to watch your behavior. Don't think I'm not going to recognize whether or not you recognize if you were wrong or not.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if it's like that bigger stuff, right?
Right.
When it's, if it's just someone had a bad day and they were kind of short with you or something and they're like, hey, I'm sorry. You're like, oh, cool. Don't even, like, it's fine. Like, not a big deal. Now, if
Yeah.
it's a horrible thing that someone has done to you or a way they have treated you or something, sometimes that's where that forgiveness without hearing the apology has to come in, I think. And
Yes.
that's the one I find harder to do because I really, like I said, I want that person to understand how horrible they are. And the truth is they don't see themselves that way.
No.
Which is why that apology is not going to come, is because they don't view it the same way I view it.
Right.
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 So that's why I've had to work on the forgiveness without, and I think like 2-3 years ago now, I don't really recall, to be honest. I did that through some letter writing, like is what I would do.
Oh yeah, I remember you doing that.
Yeah, one of those letters did get sent. All the others were just for me. I mean, honestly, one of them was about like forgiving my younger self for not knowing better.
Okay.
For like allowing myself to be treated certain ways when I didn't know any better.
Right.
So I went through a big phase of working on that forgiveness. And like I said, I think that might have been 3 years ago now. And I found that really helpful, the writing it out. So even though, like I said, those didn't get sent to the people I was writing them to, I think it definitely helped me work through the forgiveness without the apology.
Okay. And
so
I think you bring up a very big one too. And you know what's funny is, like, as much as I'm like, I can forgive other people without an apology, I'm super just like, I will let that go because I don't want it. I don't want to dwell in some negative nonsense. But you bring up, forgiving yourself. And
yeah.
I think I probably have a hard time with that on a lot of things, right? Like, especially like really big things. So
that's a hard one.
It is. It's really hard. And, like, for example, like there was, so there's something that happened like 3 years ago. And none of it was my fault. But as a parent, my job is to protect my kids. And I didn't in this situation. Something happened on my watch that wasn't okay.
Right.
And I had to find a way to forgive myself for that. So
yeah.
that was a big one.
And yeah, that That is a big one. And like you said, especially when you know it wasn't anything you did intentionally, it wasn't anything that you didn't know, but then you still, like you said, it was on your watch, if you will. So for that,
Right.
you had to be like, I have to forgive myself. And by no means am I comparing what I, have done in my life to that situation, but I think that's where that came in when I was writing that letter to my younger self of just, there's been a lot of stuff that I've let happen, you know, and I'm like, I need an apology for me too.
Yeah.
So I think that's how, in writing that out, helped me forgive myself for some of those things.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're our own worst critics, right? Like, we're the hardest on ourselves.
Good. Yeah, I'm hard on myself.
Yeah. So we have to learn to forgive ourselves too, because sometimes we're so hard on ourselves that we push it too far.
Right. And what I was going to say, like, I always talk about, like, sometimes those apologies seem so insincere, but I think about it and I think about how, like, just like in my work with kids, how if something happens, right, like on the playground, so and so gets into a fight, they called me a name, he hit me, whatever. I have to, part of our strategies here is to sit down and have that restorative conversation with these kids with,
Oh
so
my
how
God.
do you, so he called you a stupid head, and how do you think that made him feel? Not good. Okay. So is there something you want to say to him? Sorry. And then the other kid, I'm like, okay, so do you accept that? Yeah. Okay, do you guys want to give each other a hug? Yeah. But then the next day, we're going to have the same conversation with the same kid. Okay, did you call him
Oh,
a
that's when
stupid
you're like,
head?
okay.
Remember yesterday? Yesterday, he didn't feel good about that. And you said you were sorry. Like, but we
Do we
teach
really have to do that
kids.
again today?
Yeah, like we just teach kids, like, you gotta say you're sorry. You have to say it. Say you're sorry. Say you're sorry. But
Well,
we don't.
but as you just said, that I think that's an interesting thing you're doing those at that young of an age with it. Like, yes, you're teaching them to say sorry and apologize, but you're also being like, how do you think that made the person feel? So I think it's making them a little more self-reflective. Now, obviously, this other stupid head kid didn't get it, but at some point, you got to think for some of these kids, it starts sinking in, right? And then hopefully, as they continue to grow and become teens and stuff, they can take some of that and kind of remember, because I think for, a 6-year-old, an apology without changed behavior is kind of just natural for that
It's super,
age.
super normal. Do you know how
Yeah.
many of my
So that
conversations
one,
start off with, like, okay, do you remember yesterday? Yeah, you do? Okay. So we did the same thing again today? Was that a good choice? Did we make a good choice today? No, we didn't.
right.
But yeah, I mean, at
See,
that
I
age,
think the kids is a kind of different one, but then you're
yeah,
also, I mean, at that point, it's like, oh, just say you're sorry and it's fine. But really, there's so much more behind it. But when they're that young, I don't think you can get the full
they
effects of it,
they
right?
don't. They don't. Right.
Because then the other kids like, I forgive you. They might not even quite understand what that means, right?
Right.
Like what it means when they say, yeah, I forgive you for it. So they're probably like, okay, yeah, sure. So then think about that. We're kind of taught as kids, like, if someone says you're sorry or someone says they're sorry, then we just need to say, I forgive you.
I don't teach that.
And because I'm just in my head thinking, like, how did we learn forgiveness?
I'm like, I have kids. I've had a couple kids like, no, I don't want to accept that apology. And I'm like, you know what? That's okay. You can walk away from this. At some point, though, you need to come back and say that you're okay. So if you want to walk
Okay.
away right now, you can. And I have like this one kid in particular never accepts an apology. Never. They're like, no.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to right now. Maybe you want to come back later and talk to me whenever you're ready. And they're like, okay.
Oh, dang.
And it's usually like an hour later. They'll be like, I'm ready. I'm ready to be okay with that. I'm like, okay, great. Why don't you go give him a
Like,
hug?
they just, yeah, you know what? That's fair. At least that kid knows how he feels and is not going to just roll right over.
That's right.
I know I've had times too though where I've like apologized and people are just kind of like, I didn't even know you were yelling, or I didn't know you were. I'm like, oh, I have literally been like racked with guilt, feeling so bad about something, and they're like, oh, I didn't even notice you did that. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm just still gonna apologize because I felt bad about it. So I've
Yeah.
had that happen before too. That's more for small stuff though, you know, like maybe in a day when I'm just having a real off day and I'm kind of just being pissy or just not fun maybe to be around or something. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like my attitude was low, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah.
I've definitely had those days where I'm like, my I have a friend at work, and honestly, I felt so bad because it had nothing to do with her or what she was doing at the time. It was a matter of I had 5 other things going on, and then she was trying to help me with something, and I was annoyed by the way she was helping for no real reason
Oh yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah.
And so I snapped at her. I did. I was like, okay, I'm sorry. Because she looked at me and I was like, I'm sorry. And she's like, yeah, okay. So now, how are we going to move on with this? I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I know I'm being a bitch right now. She's like, yeah, you are. So I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I mean, sometimes like for myself, giving an apology is sometimes for my own good. It has nothing to do, like you said, the other person's like, okay, or something like I have to apologize because I feel so racked with guilt over the way I reacted or the way I treated someone or my
Yes.
actions, like being a big B.
Being a total B right now.
Total B right now. So I was like, better go apologize for that because I feel bad.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh man. I think that forgiveness is hard. Again, I like the apology though, but I'm also one to like if I do feel I've wronged someone, like I feel like I'm pretty quick to try and apologize because I don't want to dwell on it and I want to just get it out there.
Yeah. And you know what? I wonder if that's my thing because I'm thinking about, whenever it's a bigger thing. Now, a small thing, I'm pretty quick to apologize, pretty quick to be like, oh, shoot, like that was ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But those bigger things, sometimes I need a minute to like think through why I did what I did. Oh, sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulty. So, okay, let's get back on track. Speaking of
Okay,
apologies,
yeah.
we'll just say sorry, audience.
Our apologies.
But yeah.
Please
So
forgive us.
what I was saying, I hope they'll forgive us.
Yeah.
What I was saying in the forgiveness area was how for me with the smaller things, those little day to day, like if I'm being a big B to somebody, I am
Which is
pretty
so
quick
rare, of course.
to so rare. Never happens.
Right.
I do pretty easily ask for forgiveness on those things. The bigger ones though, like if it's a bigger thing, I almost have to take a minute and stop and think, what am I apologizing for? And is it something I actually want to apologize for?
Yeah, that's it's good you said that because as much as I was like, oh, I apologize quick, like there are times when, well, as you know, one of my awesome traits about myself is I think I'm right a lot. So If,
Oh,
you know,
no.
I found that out recently. Anyways, if someone is kind of like, oh, you made me mad or you did this wrong, can sometimes take me a minute to, like you said, step back and think about it and be like, am I wrong? And if so, how
Hmm.
do I need this apology to sound? Because I don't want it, as we were talking about the insincere ones, I don't want it to sound insincere. If I don't necessarily think
Exactly.
I've done wrong, but I know I've hurt someone's feelings, that's when I'm more of that. I think I was saying earlier where I'm like, I'm sorry you felt that way. Because I don't mean to
Yeah.
make you feel bad, but I also don't necessarily feel bad for my words. And then times when I know I've just been possibly a big B or really hurt someone without intentionally, or usually I would say I don't think usually, I think 100% of the time it's unintentional. Like I never intentionally try to hurt someone. Right. So,
Yeah.
but I got to take that step back and be like, wow, if your actions really made them feel that way, like you need to relook at yourself or evaluate something you were doing. And then when I go to that person with an apology, I want it to be like, listen, I heard you. It makes sense. I thought about what I may have said or how that may have affected things. And I'm going to do this to try to fix that.
Right. So I have this funny story where, I mean, I can laugh at it now. I was not laughing at the time. But with our kids, right? You try to lead by example and show them what kind of person to be. So we have this incident. The flower child is, I'm going to say she's maybe 7. And we have these neighborhood kids. They all play together. And there's this one kid she's all the time fighting with, all the time. And I hear a ruckus happening out in the yard.
A ruckus.
And I go out there.
Stop this
And
ruckus on my lawn,
this.
kids.
Get a ruckus! Get off my lawn! So go out there, and it comes down to this other girl is saying that the flower child has stolen this thing from her.
Oh.
And I look over at the flower child and I'm like, do you have it? And she says, no. I said, okay, get inside. And then I lost it on this kid. Oh man, because this girl was a couple years older than the flower child. And now I'm out on the porch, like looking like total white trash, right? Screaming. And don't you come back in my yard. Blah, blah, blah. Get the hell out of here. Don't come over here accusing my kid of something. Right? I mean, I'm berating her.
The whole shebang.
Losing it. Get inside. And it's finally the next morning. And Sonny Boy comes to me. And he says, Mom, I have to tell you, the flower child did take that thing.
Ooh.
And I said, right. Right? So now I look, I'm mad. And I call the flower child out and I said, do you have that thing? No. And I look at her and I said, do you know where that thing is? Yeah. Said, okay. So now I'm like, you better go find it and you better find it quick. I'm livid because now what do I have to do? I have to go down the street with this thing that, in fact, the flower child did take.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
And apologize to this kid in front of her mom and everything, right? Because
shit on.
Yeah. Oh, man. And I was livid. Oh, I've never been so mad at the flower child. But I did it, right? I go down there and I do the apology, and the mom was like, you better be sorry. And I'm like, okay. settle down.
Like, listen,
I'm down here
that's why I'm down here. I
apologizing.
don't want to be doing this. Trust me.
And I'm like, trust me, this is the last thing I want to be doing. But yeah, so that was one of those moments where I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. But I had to go admit, like, I had made such an ass out of myself. And this poor kid, I mean, in front of front of the whole neighborhood, right?
Oh, boy,
Because
yeah.
all the neighborhood kids are in my front yard now watching
Watching the show
this
go
mom
down.
lose her shit. Oh man, yeah. So that's one of those. But I like to think that the kids learn something from that, right? Like,
That you have to
made
apologize
an
when
ass
you're
out of
wrong.
yourself. You do. You have to own up to. Especially, oh man, I was so mad because I'm like, dude, I will go to bat for my kids every time, and you
Right.
just let me. Oh, you just let me do that, believing wholeheartedly that you didn't do what she was accusing you of.
Right.
And she's like,
Oh,
well, I didn't have it at the time. Man, get the hell away from me. You didn't have it. You knew where it was. You knew that you had done something wrong.
she's so particular with the words she's choosing to use.
I know.
Not admit guilt, but not say, "Oh, I was wrong." But she, that sneaky one.
Yeah.
She's a sneaky one, man.
The sneakers.
You gotta watch out for her.
She should have been a lawyer.
Yeah, right. I will say, in doing this episode, I've been trying to think of. This is gonna sound ridiculous, but I was like, "Oh, what are times I've been wrong and I needed to apologize?" I couldn't think of anything. Now, I do not mean that as in I've never done someone wrong or had to apologize. I was just trying to think of like
You're
a
always
really
right.
big. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Told you. I don't know why people don't understand this. But I couldn't, none of I don't have any ideas like straight on my head to think of. I just would like to think that mentally I know, like, hey, I've wronged this person or they've brought it to my attention. Because I will say for myself, I probably need it brought to my attention because I don't always realize that I've done it. But I can think of a lot of small ones, the work shit, like losing it and then being, hey, sorry, like I was really, having a crap ass day or, so I can think of a lot of little
What about when
times
that
where
pen comes out?
do what?
So what about that time your pen pan came out?
Oh, did have to apologize. Yeah, I felt horrible. That apology was not accepted, but that was fair. I was just, and then I was annoyed because I had to I felt like I was groveling with the apology, but I knew I was in the wrong because I was embarrassed of my own actions and the apology was not accepted. So that I was like, are you kidding me? I'm trying so hard to be so nice. Take responsibility here. You're not accepting it. And that person they are themselves and they did not have to accept it. But boy, that just made me even more angry. It really did come along with a lot more. I think when those situations come up, that is probably in the long run, I'm probably more mad at myself of how I chose to respond to something. And so it's like in offering that apology to someone else, I'm really like mentally probably offering it to myself as well because I have to forgive myself for losing my cool, right?
Right.
And that I think we kind of talked about that, touched on it a little bit, but forgiving ourselves is sometimes the hardest part of all of it, especially when it's something big.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, yeah, you got to pull a pimp hand. Make sure you know what you're doing before you do it. You never want to have to apologize for that.
It's a hard apology.
It is. That it is. Oh man. But yeah, I would say forgiveness is definitely an interesting one. When I'm acting like a real B is when I probably feel my worst because I don't feel like I gave someone my best version of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder though, because you know how we were talking about how I don't like to hear an apology. And sometimes for me, it's not even because I haven't forgiven you. I have. But I don't think, and I'm talking like it has to be a big thing for me to feel this way, a pretty big thing. And in general, no, I'm sorry, you don't get to take that guilt away from yourself. So you
Oh,
don't get to apologize.
I feel like that's even
And
really mean of you.
okay, well,
But
I think do you get it though? I mean, when I
yeah,
talk about
I do
that
get it.
thing that happened
You're right, because I think,
like 3 years ago, if that person ever had the nerve to apologize to me, oh Lord,
oh,
that
that's
wouldn't go
definitely
well.
sit in your own damn guilt on that one, dude. Like, I don't even want to hear that. So yep, I can get you on that. Like, there are certain apologies where I'm like, you sit in your own stew in your own shit that you caused because I don't need to hear it. And I've forgiven
Yeah,
you from the level I'm ready to, and I'm going to move on with it. And I'm not going to give you another thought, right? Like, give you that time of day. So yeah, I could get that
right.
with something really
Yeah,
big where you're just like, I don't even want the apology.
yeah. It has to be pretty big for me to feel that way.
I think we're going to run out of time on this, but it's funny because I was thinking about that. Um, Sometimes that apology really is about someone releasing their own guilt.
Yes.
And especially I was thinking in like relationships, say there's some cheating or something, and they want to apologize. I'm like,
Yeah,
you're apologizing because you were caught, not because you actually feel bad about what you did, or
yeah.
you're apologizing to release your guilt over it. And in all reality, I don't want to hear it, kind of thing. So again, that's probably a topic for a whole nother discussion.
That
On
might be a whole different episode.
yeah, but some of those apologies, like you said, that's just them trying to release their own guilt, and you're like, I don't care if you feel guilty the rest of your life over that shit, man. Not my problem to stop it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So our lesson learned and growth earned on this is definitely apologize when a situation does call for it. You have a friend or partner that you've wronged unintentionally, just try to make it right. If it happens to be Casey, she doesn't want to hear your apology, but you can change your behavior. And that is the other part, is remember that an apology without changed behavior is just words. So if you're not going to give a sincere apology, then maybe don't even give
Indeed. And in our next episode, we're going to explore music. You're going to get our hot take on it. Thanks for listening. Until next time, go out there and be your favorite self.
Yes. And if you are enjoying what you hear, make sure to leave us a review, help others find us. And make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite listening platform to catch all our future episodes.